Cool. We'll just go ahead and get started really quick. Okay, hello and welcome to the Engagement Involvement Fair hosted by the Department of Political Science Student Advisory Committee. My name is Parker Neff and I am the chair of the Department of Political Science Student Advisory Committee. I want to welcome our presenters to the virtual open house event. We at the SAC wanted to present options for how students can be involved in the campus community during the uncertain times of COVID-19. The Student Advisory Committee is one of the best ways to be involved in your campus community. Students can participate in many different ways. Members of the SAC are trained on how to participate in the retention, promotion, and tenure review each semester to provide a voice for students based on feedback provided by them at the end of each semester. Among other tasks, members of the SAC assist in helping plan events to foster engagement in the Department of Campus community. SAC members can also plan community outreach events or participate in them through the Benyon Center. If you are interested in joining the Political Science Student Advisory Committee, visit the Department of Political Science website and find the Undergraduate Student Advisory tab on the top right. Then send myself or Ella Myers an email. Thank you for joining, and I'd like to turn the time over to Lucas from, I believe it's ASUU, correct?
We're actually from the Office of Student Leadership and Involvement.
Perfect. So here's Lucas.
Perfect. Howdy, y'all. My name is Lucas Brizolara. I'm an involvement ambassador here on campus in the Office of Student Leadership and Involvement. I'm here to kind of tell you about how you can get involved here on campus and some of the resources that my office offers and things like that. So I'm going to show you guys a quick, short little presentation, and then we'll turn the time over to some of the other panelists. Let me share screen here. I can't do that. Parker. Parker, I can't share the screen.
Trying to see if I can make
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, I can't share it.
We'll just make you host for a minute.
Okay, perfect. There we go. And alrighty. So let me, I don't know, not share. Alrighty, so obviously I am one of the involvement ambassadors here. So this is the student involvement presentation. It's going to be obviously presented by me. And then here are my two other colleagues. So we have Saba Seal and Cindy Rios. Unfortunately, Cindy doesn't really work with us too much anymore. She now has a presidential internship here at the University of Utah. So she does some pretty cool stuff as well. All right, so I'm gonna kind of give you a quick little rundown. So we are the involvement ambassadors. We are part of the Office of Student Leadership and Involvement, which is kind of an umbrella with ASUU. So we kind of help and do a lot of stuff with ASUU. We're also very close to their office. So one of the things is we're in the student union on the second floor in SLI suite 248. So just next to the ASUU kind of involvement suite and things like that. Right now, due to COVID-19, we do not have any in-person office hours. They're all virtual. So you would meet with I or my colleagues over Zoom or through kind of the way Cranium Cafe runs it is it has like its own lobby basically. So some of the stuff we do presentations such as this one right now, and we also do kind of one-on-one consultations, which is our bread and butter. So we meet with a student one-on-one and we say, hey, based on some of the stuff that you've filled out in an intake form and some of the things that you're interested in, but maybe based off your major, we can kind of give you a little roadmap or suggest some student orgs or even some that are outside of the University of Utah or some departments at the U. We can help you get involved in that way. So obviously our purpose is to help students find a community or get involved in a community here on campus, because one of the best ways to succeed here on campus is getting involved. All right, so I'm going to talk about my colleague's story real quick. So we have Saba's story. So she is part of the Freshman Ambassador Board. She was on the union, which is part of the Union Programming Council. She was a Hinckley intern at the Salt Lake City mayoral campaign, as well as the Salt Lake County Mayor's Office for New Americans. I actually worked with Saba while I was at the Salt Lake County Mayor's Office of Diversity and Inclusion, so that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed working with her. She's also part of the Benyon Center, so she did some stuff with the hospice care as well as Project Youth. The Ivory experience, I don't really know too much about that. You'd probably have to ask her when you sign up for a consultation or something. And then right now, she's also a ASU Supreme Court Justice, which is super cool. She's awesome. She's a super nice person. Easily one of my favorite people to work with, as well as somebody who I look up to pretty much every day. So here's my story, a little less, kind of more condensed. So I was a Block U senior peer advisor. I was originally a student in the Block U program, became a peer advisor, and then a senior peer advisor of the entire program. I was part of the Arts Leadership and Community Project coordination team. So this photo right here, where we would go to a Title I school, Bryant Middle School, and we would kind of use the arts to teach multi-facets of education and things like that. So when I was a student in that program, I helped teach multiculturalism through music. So the students that I worked with did kind of a spoken word as well as like a kind of a body beat type thing, and they managed to talk about all their different cultures and where they came from. And then as I became a peer advisor, as you can see by this photo, we did a lot of stuff more in their after school program where students would come in and they would do things like, oh, some of these are the student organizations that we're a part of. These are the things we like at our school. Here's some of the stuff that we made. So they would make like a video, stop motion. They also made these giant posters that they actually ended up hanging up in their lunchroom, which was super cool. I then became an involvement ambassador, and I've been doing that for about 2 years now, which is a blast. I love this job. It's easily one of the greatest jobs I've ever had. And then I was also, over the summer, part of the Salt Lake County Office of Diversity and Inclusion. So I got to work with Saba there, and that was a blast. It's sometimes county work seems really boring and things like that, but it's really cool. You get to actually make an impact and see the impact happening directly in front of you. All right, so obviously, you know, you're thinking about, you just come to the U or things like that, or maybe you're still at the U and you're just like, hey, I want to get, and kind of am still feeling a little lost. Obviously, getting involved, make the most of your college experience out here. So what does involvement at the U look like? So the University of Utah has over 40,000 students. We have a lot of students here. It's pretty crazy, and it boggles even my mind. Obviously, no longer are they on campus. There are very few people on campus, and now we're all kind of crammed into Zoom classrooms and things like that. But you can still get involved in many ways and meet people through these Zoom classrooms. So we have a pretty large, I can't remember the acreage of how big the U is, but it's a massive campus. It's huge. It's crazy. We have over 500 different student orgs. So there's always something for everyone. And if you can't really find that niche or something like that, you can always make your own student org, which is always a plus. There are more than 70% of the students are involved in some sort of organization. So you can tell that we take involvement here at the U pretty highly. We love when people get involved in things like that, and it truly enhances your college experience as well as sets you up for success, not just in college, but in future careers in the professional world. So what does involvement look like? Because I know a lot of students sometimes are like, man, I want to get involved, but I really don't know what it looks like, or I don't want to, you know, overshoot and jump the gun and end up in a position that kind of I'm in too deep for. So this, I like to say this food pyramid is always the best way of looking at it. So we have time commitment on the bottom here, and then kind of the role is slowly increasing. So as time commitment goes up, your role in being involved increases. So we have, obviously at the lowest, we have attending campus events. So maybe this is things like the involvement fair or what we're having right now. Things like that. You show up once or twice a month, maybe you're like, man, this is cool. I enjoy this. Eventually you're like, hey, maybe I'm going to do some leadership programs. So that's a little bit more time commitment, like the Student Leadership Summit, maybe an alternative breaks trip, the Women's Leadership Summit, all these great things that are kind of more based in workshops and things like that take maybe 2 days out of your month and things like that. And so that I would say would be kind of your second level of involvement. And then eventually you're like, hey, I've been attending campus events. I've done some of these leadership or service programs. I've really enjoyed going to the student groups presentations or events. Why don't I actually join them and maybe start helping out? So obviously with the large amount of student groups we have, there's tons of meetings and things like that. So it's not hard to join a student org, and it's not hard to find one. And that obviously will take a little bit more time because now you're going to start regularly going to the meetings and things like that. And you're going to regularly attend activities with these people. And maybe you're going to start to meet new friends, people, and eventually you're going to say, hey, I really like this student group. I kind of want to be a part of it in a bigger way. I want to have a leadership role. So eventually, obviously at the maximum time commitment, you're going to have the leadership roles. So president, director, campus job, internship, these kind of things, where instead of just attending and being like, oh, I don't have to show up today because obviously I'm just part of the student org, now you kind of have that commitment to be like, hey, I need to show up. I need to show myself to the people who are maybe in these 3 right now, and I need to show them what a good leadership is like and things like that. So obviously as time commitment goes up, your role in different campus orgs or on campus changes. So one of the greatest things is the path to leadership. A leadership position begins with involvement. Taking that first step is the biggest part. So I know a lot of students, when they come into the University of Utah, they're like, oh, I don't really know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. Please help me. And so one of the best ways is to kind of get involved, and us as involvement ambassadors are here to help you with that. So why get involved though? Because that's a good question too. I know a lot of students are just like, I'm just going to get my major done. I'm going to, grind through this and finish as fast as possible. Why get involved? Like, there doesn't seem to really be a reason. Getting involved is extremely important, especially in the professional world and things like that. So obviously, number one, it's a resume builder. You can say, hey, I've done things at the student group, or I've held leadership positions. I know how to work with a team of people and things like that. You can connect with the community, which is always a big plus. So you start meeting new people, meeting friends, things like that, that also promotes a higher GPA. Typically, when you're involved, you're setting up discipline and regiments for yourself, and you'll find people who maybe have the same major or the same classes as you. You say, hey, why don't we study together and things like that? Why don't you help me with this? I help you with that. And then obviously students who are involved on campus have a higher graduation rate. Why? Because you're more invested in your campus and in your school. So you say, hey, I have friends here. I enjoy what I do here. I have a purpose in school. And so now I'm going to keep going and eventually graduate, obviously. And then number 5, and then finally, it builds connections. So you're going to start meeting new people. A lot of student groups bring in outside speakers and things like that. You're going to start meeting these people. These people may start talking to you and being like, hey, I have this opportunity, or I know people in this field and things like that. And so that's obviously really going to help you get a job in the professional world and things like that. And obviously with the resume builder and the other things, you're kind of going to be set and ready to go. So success starts in or on campus. So now you're wondering, that's all cool, but how do I get involved in this? How do I get started? So there's our getinvolved.utah.edu, also known as Campus Connect, is the one-stop shop for everything. So we have student organizations, campus events, campus updates, leadership, and a lot more. So you can go to this website here and just search up any kind of keyword under the organizations tab. You can see some of the events that maybe that organization is having. You can join these events, which is a big thing too. You can join these events as well as organizations through this tab by signing in. All right, so now kind of onto my bread and butter, the involvement ambassador's bread and butter. Involvement consultations plus our newsletter. So you're probably saying, this is all great. I would like to meet with an involvement ambassador now. So what we do is we offer that one-on-one consultation to help match you with clubs or leadership opportunities that interest you and relate to your college goals. So similar to the way you do academic advising, where you meet one-on-one with an academic advisor, you fill out an intake form. It's the same way with us. You fill out an intake form, we meet with you. It would be in person, but now it's currently online. So we'd meet with you online and we'd say, hey, based on some of the stuff that you've put on your intake form, as well as kind of the rapport that we've been building throughout this meeting, I think these would be some good student groups or faculty or like different departments on campus or even off campus that we think you could achieve your college goals. So consultation signups are actually now live. They're no longer coming soon. So if you just go to this link right here, you can sign up for an involvement consultation. I believe I am the only one currently with a schedule set up compared to my colleagues. Since they are busy with some other stuff, they do not have their schedule set up just yet. And currently, consultations will be offered virtually via Zoom. So we will kind of do the same thing that we're doing here. You can also subscribe to our newsletter. So we send out a monthly email with plenty of involvement opportunities on and off campus. We like to highlight one student group per week kind of in that newsletter to kind of talk about what they enjoy doing and things like that. And we're currently working on implementing kind of a lunch with the student group where I would sit down maybe for lunch and talk to some of the leaders of that student group every month or something, kind of ask how they got involved, things like that, and as well as what their student group is about. And maybe that can kind of also help you or influence you in your involvement journey. You can also follow us on Instagram. So at Get Involved Utah, we post Instagram lives where Saba and I talk a lot about kind of how we got involved or ways to get involved and things like that. And that's probably where we plan on putting those lunch with the student group activities. Anybody have any questions? I think they may be saving questions for later. I also can't see the questions because I'm currently screen sharing. And then you guys won't have to do this, but eventually we take attendance via the event pass, but obviously attendance will be taken via the Zoom. So that is my spiel. Thank you very much. And there we go. There we go. I made you host again, Parker.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucas. Like I said, if no one showed up, which it looks like no one has, I'll just post it to YouTube and share it on Facebook and Twitter so that everyone can watch later. That way, at least there's more information out there so that they have access to it.
Sweet. Yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody else showed up.
It does not, no.
Oh, yikes. Okay, that's all right. such as student-run things.
Such as a student-run thing on Zoom in the middle of the school week. You run the risk of not having anything, especially since you can't have free food anymore. So
exactly, yeah, I can't offer that anymore. Can't Uber Eats your participants, I think.
Yeah, I'm like, Hinckley used to get so many people for their stuff. I don't know how they're gonna do. Because you can't go get the free pizza that you used to be able to. So
yeah, good old pizza and politics. That was the best.
Stuff's I lived on that.
That was pretty unbeatable. I also
there you go.
All right, am I good? Okay. All right, hello everyone. My name is Miranda Best. I'm the outreach coordinator for the Hinckley Institute at the University of Utah. And my primary role is to help students find their place in the Hinckley Institute and learn more about our program so that they can take advantage of the amazing internships as well as other opportunities that we have, and so that students can have a successful undergraduate career. Our internships are also available to graduate students, but primarily undergrads participate. So a little bit of background about me and my involvement with the Hinckley Institute. I graduated in 2017 from the U with a double major in International Studies and Latin American Studies. And I remember learning about the Hinckley as a sophomore, thinking it was just for politics. And so I didn't get involved because that really wasn't where my interests were at the time. And it took until my very last semester, as I was about to graduate, for me to realize I still hadn't done an internship. I didn't have a job lined up after graduation, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And I had a friend who was working at the Hinckley tell me to come talk to her. And so I went into the Hinckley, and we figured out how I could do an internship that related to my interests. And long story short, I got to do an internship in partnership with the Benyon Center on campus in Cuba. So I was helping the Benyon Center reorganize their Cuba Study Abroad program. I had participated in this program the year before, and I was heavily involved in the Benyon Center, so I had a really good idea and understanding of the goals and learning objectives that they had for this program. And so I got to go down to Havana by myself and meet with a bunch of different community organizations to restructure this program so that it really addressed the ideas and goals of the Benyon Center to focus on community engagement and service learning, and to make this program be more accessible and sustainable for the Benyon Center. And so it was a really great internship opportunity that between the Hinckley and the Benyon Center, I was able to learn a lot about myself, my strengths and my weaknesses, what I did and did not like about working abroad, and what that all looked like in regards to university programming. And so I'm really grateful that I had this internship experience, but in retrospect, I wish I would have understood more about the Hinckley sooner while I was a student, because I would have taken advantage and participated in more internships throughout my undergraduate career. So that said, the Hinckley Institute was founded in 1965. So this is actually our 55th anniversary this year. And the idea was that Robert H. Hinckley wanted to get students involved in the political process, to have transformative internship experiences that would allow them to develop leadership skills that would then in turn help them be further involved in their communities through civic and community engagements and things like that. And so while we were founded on the basis of politics and getting students involved in that realm, we have since then expanded our programs to help students of all majors find internships in a variety of different areas. So why is it important to do an internship? We want students to have professional experience, right? There are so many times when students are entering the workforce and they maybe have great grades, but they haven't had a lot of professional experience. And so they are not able to promote themselves in those future job applications because they haven't had that real world experience. So we want students to have that professional opportunity, as well as students are gaining professional networks. The way the world works these days is all on who you know, the network that you've established. And so it's really important for students to develop these relationships in any realm, whether it's with their professors or in volunteer experiences, if it's through your internship. You want to have people that you know and can count on to connect you with future opportunities. Doing an internship is always a great way to build your resume, right? It's giving you more experiences that you can speak to in applications and in interview experiences. And then on top of that, by doing an internship through the Hinckley Institute, students are able to earn course credit by doing these internships, which is fantastic. So you can get anywhere from 3 to 12 credits by doing an internship for one semester. And then additionally, we want to help students tie back their civic engagement component. So what is it that you're doing in your internship and how can you connect that to your studies, but then also how can you tie that into the community and how that relates to different either political, economic, or social issues that we're seeing around us. So the Hinckley Institute has 3 different locations or programs that we offer to students. And the first one is our local internship. This is offered all 3 semesters and it is available to all academic levels, anywhere from freshmen to graduate students. And this is a really great way for people to get started in that internship experience. You can have very little work experience or you can have a lot in order to participate in our local internship program. Our host offices are really great at being flexible with the student's schedule, so you can still take courses while you're working in your internship. And then they are really great at serving as mentors and teaching you the skills that you need in order to be a successful intern that you could then take with you for further experiences. Then we have our legislative internship, and this is only spring semester because that is when Utah's legislative session is happening. And then we typically reserve these spots for juniors and seniors because we do ask that the students who participate in this internship do have more professional experience and have had some time in school that they can utilize that knowledge and experience in this internship. However, it's not restricted to just juniors and seniors, but that's typically who we reserve those spots for. And we'll usually take about 30 of these interns for the legislative session. And this internship is a really great way for students to get hands-on experience, front row seats to policy making in the state of Utah. No matter what you're studying or where your interests are, policy affects you. And as political science students, this is a really great way to see how that is impacting your future goals, whether you want to get involved directly in policy or law or nonprofit legislation, anything of that sort. This is a really great way to see how that works firsthand instead of just reading about it in a book or listening to a lecture about it. We give our legislative interns a week-long intensive training so that they know how the session works, they know who the important people are, and they know the skills that they need in order to be successful interns. And then on top of that, the legislative interns get paid just under $2,800 for their work during the legislative session, which is really great. And then the legislative interns can earn anywhere from 6 to 15 credits by doing this internship. Then we have our national internship. This is offered all 3 semesters and is available to freshmen to graduate students. And this is a really great way for students to get that DC experience. This is something I wish I would have known about when I was a student. I always wanted to go to Washington, DC, but everything I found online seemed impossible to get into. Had I known what the Hinckley had to offer, I would have jumped on this opportunity. Why? Because not only does the Hinckley help set you up with an internship in Washington, DC, but we also provide subsidized housing and funding to make it more affordable and accessible to be there. So for example, the subsidized housing, we have a set of apartments that has about 30 students every semester, and we pay half of the rent and utilities. So students only pay $450 a month for that rent. And then if you're not getting paid by your host office, we provide you a stipend that covers that rent and then gives you a little bit more money to then pay for food and transportation, things like that. And we have all sorts of opportunities in Washington, DC. So anything from political offices to political and congressional offices, foreign affairs, nonprofits, anything related to healthcare, education, that we've got it all in Washington, DC. And so it's a really great way for students to get that exposure and see how they can put their interests of policy into practice. And then last, we have our global internship program. And this is also offered all 3 semesters to all academic levels. And so this internship is a really great way for students to learn what it's like to be abroad in a working setting, rather than a studying setting like you would do in a learning abroad. So students are working full-time for an organization, they're frequently living by themselves or with other interns, and they are living life like they would here, but in another country, right? So they are getting the chance to navigate their communities and their city, learn how to work. There are lots of opportunities in foreign languages. If you don't speak another language, we also have other opportunities in English as well. And so this is a really great way to put yourself to the test and see what it's like to work in a different country and learn how cultures impact that experience. We also make it really affordable to do our global internships because we have discounted tuition. So you only pay $45 per credit for a global internship. So putting that into perspective, if you want to do 12 credits through your global internship, that total tuition would be less than $600. Whereas if you were to do 12 credits on campus, it's probably going to be closer to $4,000. So that right there is a huge money saver. Then on top of that, we have thousands of dollars of scholarships available through us and various offices on campus that reduce that cost factor for students. So those scholarships can go towards flights and housing and living expenses, things like that. We really want to make sure that money is not what's preventing students from participating in these internships. And so we have a lot of resources available for you. Additionally, students have an opportunity to set up their own internship through their own connections that they have, but then students can still come to the Hinckley Institute and utilize the resources that we have, like applying for scholarships and getting course credit for those internships. So this is a great way for you to utilize your personal network. For example, you may have a professor that recommends an internship, or you may have a family friend that owns a business or a nonprofit that you want to work for. So you can set that up yourself and then come to us and we help you with the rest. So how does this work? The Hinckley Institute really only has 2 major requirements to get into our program. We look for a 3.0 GPA and that you are in good standing with the university. So the GPA can be flexible if you have something a little bit lower than a 3.0, but you've got some valid reasons for it, like maybe you had a semester where you got sick, or you had some family emergencies, or you're working a lot to pay for school and so your grades have dropped a little bit. With those sorts of things, we can definitely work around a GPA. It's mostly to keep you competitive, and especially in our national and global programs, but we can be flexible. So you want to be thinking 1 or 2 semesters ahead of time for when you'd want to apply. So for example, we are already accepting applications for spring 2021, and those will be due in October. Well, September 15th for national, and then October 1st for local. For our global program, you need to be planning 2 semesters ahead of time. So we're already taking applications for summer 2021 to go abroad. So you want to be planning ahead. And so you'll submit your application on our website, and then you'll want to research some host offices that interest you on our website. So you can find those on our internships page. This isn't necessarily a political science example, but we have a political science tab on this page that you can search all of our host office partners that we have in Utah, DC, and abroad. And you'll want to pick about 3 or 4 offices that interest you most, because then we're going to ask you about those in your interview with the Hinckley Institute program managers. So you'll come in, you'll interview with us, and then we will ask you about your academic and your professional goals. What is it that you're hoping to achieve with an internship, and then how can we help you get there? And what host offices are you interested in? So from there, we then take all of your application materials and we send it to our contacts at those host offices you've expressed interest in, and we help you get interviews set up with them as well. So then from there, we get you placed in an office, and then we get you course credit. We help you apply for scholarships and additional funding, and we get you on your way. We help you in that whole start to finish process. And so we really are here to just help you be successful and find amazing internships. So if you have questions, we are located in Gardner Commons 2018, and you can stop by and get some questions answered. You're also able to meet with me and set up an advising appointment, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much, and hopefully we get to see all of you really soon. Do you want me to hit the end recording?
No, just hover over my name, and there's the more. You'll hit more and then host, make host.
Let me see.
So there should be participants at the bottom.
Oh, yes, there we go. More, make host. Okay.
Thank you so much, Miranda. This was awesome.
Thank you, Parker. Good luck with everything else today.
You too. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
We kind of do a lot of voter registration efforts at the U and civic engagement efforts. So during the Freedom Summer of 1964, there was a voter registration project going on to register Black people to vote in Mississippi and other areas of the South. So Andrew Goodman, attending college in New York at the time, joined this project and went to Mississippi to register people to vote. And then the first night that he was there, he and 2 other students were murdered by the KKK for their efforts to register Black Americans to vote. So now, in honor of Andrew Goodman and his friends, the Andrew Goodman Foundation focuses on making young voices and votes a powerful force in democracy through like things like civic engagement and voter registration on college campuses. And they're led by the Vote Everywhere chapters. So here at the University of Utah, we have a Vote Everywhere chapter. So we do things like voter registration, events to get people in touch with their local candidates and elected officials. So if Piper, you want to talk about kind of getting involved?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the primary way to get involved is through our Campus Connect. So students can search getinvolved.utah.edu. It'll prompt you to sign in as a student. So just put in your UID and password. And then our group is titled the Andrew Goodman Foundation at the U of U. So just be sure to search that, and then you can register as a member to receive regular notifications and information. Also, if you'd like more information, another avenue is to email one of our lead ambassadors, Jonas Warner. And their email is Jonas, Jonas, Warner, Warner @gmail.com if you'd like more information. And additionally, there is more information about the Andrew Goodman Foundation on our Hinckley, on the Hinckley Institute of Politics website. And lastly, if you'd like to get regular updates about our activities, you can go to our Instagram, which is Andrew Goodman Foundation _U of U. And that's all lowercase. So those are kind of our main ways to get involved in the Andrew Goodman Foundation.
And then we do have a couple events coming up in this semester, so we just wanted to plug those real fast. The first one is National Voter Registration Day on September 22nd, so we'll really be pushing voter registration efforts that day. And if you want to volunteer that day, let us know. We're not entirely sure what everything's going to look like yet because of COVID, if we're going to be able to do like in-person voter registration anywhere, or if it's going to be mostly like online. And then we have the vice presidential debate on campus on October 7th, and you can register to volunteer for that at debate2020.utah.edu, and the last day to register for or to apply to volunteer is today, so get that done. And then we have the campaign carnival on October 14th, and that just brings local candidates to campus like during normal years. This year it'll be like a Zoom thing, and we'll put out a schedule of what candidates are speaking on Zoom and whatnot. And then election day is November 3rd, so make sure you go vote.